Hello and welcome back to Civ 5. In today's video I'll be showing you the best strategy I came up with to produce the best science throughout the game. It's practically a Great Library Rush tactic, which I would advise not going for on deity difficulty, as the AI Civ have a massive advantage over the user and they build it so quickly. But yes, this is sort of a follow-on from the last video on how to boost your science, so I'll leave that either in the description or in the one of the cards on the top right. So without further ado, let's get on with it. So to start with, personally I would go with Korea, or you could go with any other scientific civ like Babylon, which is pretty much the only other one, but personally I prefer Korea as they give you +2 science points for specialists and academies, as well as a science boost when you build a scientific building or wonder in the capital. So when spawning in, you might want to check your tiles around you. It's quite important to suss out for production tiles and food tiles. Essentially you don't want things like tundra or just very flat open ground. But what you could do on first turn is just keep clicking reset every time you don't get a spot that you're happy with. But a good one would be things like forests, hills, a river, especially a good luxury resource. Also, you might want to take a turn moving your settlers to a good tile. It is worthwhile in the long term, as you're going to get extra production and food out of it. You can settle on resources, so if you don't mind losing them, you would get the production and food that was on that tile. And so when you're settled, what I do is I pretty much get a scout. This is quite important for exploration as well as ruins, which you can get free techs from. Mainly either free tech in pottery or writing is the main ones you're looking out for. But as well, use your warriors to explore, as you might find some ruins and you might be able to take over some barbarian encampments for gold. And further down the line you might need gold to actually purchase some workers. So mainly go for writing as soon as possible, as you're competing against every civ to get the Great Library first. And when you're on a harder difficulty, the AI are likely to get the Great Library very quickly, especially on deity, which they get such a massive advantage over you, they'll probably build it before you can even get a chance. A thing to consider is to use your population wisely. From the get-go, I would prioritize food first, but when you start building the Great Library, prioritize production, because it builds it quicker, depending on your circumstances and whatever you prefer. Before building the library, you may go ahead and build some workers if you have the turns to do so, as it would get you some extra production from tile management, especially using the workers to build things like mines and chopping down trees for a boost in production. However, if you're profitable enough, you may be able to buy workers down the line. So several turns later, fingers crossed you're at the point where you're about to build the Great Library. Before it's finished, make sure you have calendar research. It's extremely important, as when you get the free tech from the Great Library, you want to unlock philosophy. Philosophy unlocks the National College, so essentially you can just start building the National College straight after Great Library. If you're a bit behind on it though, on calendar, like a couple of turns, with Career you do get a tech boost when building scientific wonders, so if you're a couple of turns behind, it's fine, as you know, you just get your tech as soon as it's built, and then you could go on to unlocking philosophy with that free tech. So when you're just about to finish on Natural College, you will only have your capital, a worker, and maybe some units. What you want to do is essentially just expand your land, get some more cities down, build some more settlers. Of course, when building settlers, you want to mainly prioritize doing production, because building settlers completely negates any food, and it essentially stagnates your population growth. So build a few extra cities. Cities are quite important for science, as they will produce you more science, of course, as you're building things like libraries and more universities and other things later down the line. But yeah, talking of universities, the next tech you're looking for is education, as that does grant you the university, and you need to be looking out for techs like that. The university is really important, so try and get that built straight away in your cities. And as well, after building all of them, you could get the Oxford University. Make sure when you have built the university that you have some available population to assign as specialists inside your universities, which give you extra science. But yeah, there's other techs to look out for, such as scientific theory, plastics and satellites, which gives you more scientific wonders, as well as more scientific buildings like science labs. And make sure you keep checking your tech tree and prioritize going for those sort of techs, especially as they grant you these scientific buildings a little bit earlier. But yeah, so essentially when you're past the early stages of the game, however from this point onwards, it's reliant on whatever circumstances you end up being in. Sometimes you may go into war or some other issues may come up, but I'll give some pointers on what you need to do throughout the game. So essentially whenever you get a great scientist, make sure you build academies. However, past somewhere around like the modern era, just start doing fixed science boosts. Try and get scientific national wonders built as soon as possible. For example, Oxford University, you're going to have to prepare for that and build universities in every city. Make sure you lock your population to work on specific tiles and create specialists on specific buildings and any other building which gives any science output while working on, such as the workshop. When you reach Renaissance, make sure you go into your policies and start unlocking the rationalism tree. There's plenty of policies in there which massively impact your science. When you have to choose an ideology, I personally always choose for order, as you get a 25% science boost in that city when you have a factory built inside it. When you have control in diplomacy, go for Scholar's Residence, as this greatly boosts your great scientist production. As well, in diplomacy, there's an option to do the International Space Station, which when taking effect, you're going to have to put all your production to it, as it greatly increases your science, as well it produces some great scientists as well. Later in the game, the only scientific wonder that you could get is the Hubble telescope, so make sure you try and get that when you unlock satellites. And then finally go for the scientific victory by prioritizing the tech trees which enable the construction of the spaceship parts, and just try and rush them to complete them. And also in the order ideology that you've chosen, you can have a policy which enables great engineers to construct spaceship parts. So if you go down the tradition tree, you can buy great engineers with faith. So if you save up your faith and essentially spend them all on the spaceship parts, you can get them done really quickly. As well, with spaceship parts, you're going to have to unlock them with the tech tree, so just prioritize those ones and then build them up in your capital or wherever you want them, and then essentially you've won the game when you've constructed all of them. And then there we have it. For me, that's all to share for my strategy at the moment. I'm a little bit rusty at Civ at the moment, but thinking back to my Prime days a couple of years ago, my playstyle is pretty much fairly similar to go for. So if this video was helpful, please leave a like, or perhaps suggest any flaws in my tactics and how I could do better. That would be very helpful for me. I'll see you on the next video.